Congressman, what is your focus for today's session?
Well, I think there's three different things that we hope to accomplish. One, to get the rest of the story. I think there's a whole lot that Director Comey has said in not only the transcribed interview that we had, but other congressional testimony that he's conducted or that has been conducted over the last several months, and the inconsistencies with his public testimony versus those transcribed interviews, trying to make sure that we understand fully. For me, I can't imagine how the director of the FBI did not know the connection between Fusion GPS, Perkins Coie, and the DNC as it related to the infamous dossier. And so hopefully getting a little bit more clarity there, as well as the coordination between the FBI and the media and how that drove the narrative.
You're talking about the leaking of the memos or leaking of
we know that the memos were leaked because he's agreed and suggested that happened, but we have a number of text messages and other information that would indicate that there's a systemic problem within the Department of Justice and FBI in terms of leaking strategically. Now, you may not want to call it a leak, but certainly sharing information with the media strategically to put out a certain narrative, and we're hopeful to get to the bottom of that.
Clear on one point, do you believe that there's a conflict between his public statements and the private testimony, and if so, on what issues?
I do. I think the knowledge of when the FBI and specifically Director Comey became aware of the involvement of the DNC, Perkins Coie, Fusion GPS as it relates to their hiring of Christopher Steele, the whole FISA application. At what point did he become aware of that? He seemed to indicate the other day that he wasn't aware of that until he read reports long after he was gone. I find that very hard to substantiate based on other evidence. So hopefully we'll give him a chance today to clarify that.
Would he mislead the committee in your view?
I'm going to give him a chance to clarify that. I can tell you that when you look at his public statements and also the testimony that he's given, those don't seem to reconcile. So we're going to give him a chance to hopefully clarify those remarks and help us better understand what he knew, when he knew, and at what point it became a factor in their decisions.
Over the weekend, the president also called Michael Cohen a rat. Do you think that's
listen, I've learned a long time ago to concentrate more on what I say than what other people say, and in this, when you look at the whole narrative of what's going on, I think there's more than enough quotes to critique. And at this point, I'm going to be critiquing more mine than anybody else.
The court proceedings also implicated the president in 2 crimes. Does that concern you?
Well, any time that there's a crime, it would be a concern. But we also have a country where we're innocent until proven guilty. Unfortunately, we're trying to convict everybody in the press instead of actually in the courtroom, and that's what we need to focus on.
The FBI released a document late Friday. It was part of a FOIA.
Yeah, that's a critical document. And if you look at that document, and you look at some of the things that were said in that document, that briefing that happened apparently were the 2 pages that Director Comey was using to brief the president is not consistent with some of the other testimony that we have. Specifically, he was briefing the president on private clients. Well, what private clients was he talking about? If he learned about those later, why would he have been briefing the president, in January on that? So those are the inconsistencies that I'm talking about, and hopefully he'll be able to clarify that today.
And what about Flynn, the way he was questioned like FBI agents?
Yeah, I have a real problem with that. When you look up hypocrisy in the dictionary, it's doing one thing in private and suggesting that it needs to be done a different way when you're making another compelling argument. And here we have Director Comey that was suggesting that he knew what protocol was, and he violated that protocol by actually going around White House counsel. I think he knew better. I don't understand why he did it, especially since he had the transcripts. He knew what General Flynn had said, so I don't know that there was a compelling reason to bypass protocol in terms of that urgency.
Find out
All right,
today,
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.